The Colorado Avalanche are ready to celebrate their 30th season. So let's take a look at their 30 best players over those 30 years on a new episode of Locked on Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked on Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked on Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. Thank you for tuning in, making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. And if you want to get on the conversation, then join our subtext. Link is in the show notes below. And when you do, you chat with me one-on-one. I get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, and share it on this very podcast. So for today, a little bit later on in our third segment, I'll do the Eastern Conference today. We'll do the Western Conference on Friday. And who are the teams that missed last year that could make it this year as far as playoffs go? So we'll talk about that. And the front office confidence poll is now up and can be voted on if you are a subscriber to The Athletic. So we'll take a look at the categories and the last 2 years, because I'm really interested to see where this year's poll goes. Very interested. So we'll go over the different criteria and different categories and kind of rate where I think the Avalanche will be in those. I think there's 5 of them total. But where we're going to start is I put this up on social media a couple days ago, and it's getting a lot of feedback, not shockingly, but whenever you throw something up like this, there's going to be people who have opinions, and that's totally fine. That's what this is all about. So I did a 30 for 30 essentially, and everybody knows like my disdain and dislike of ESPN. But the 30 for 30 stuff is cool. So, you know, those documentaries are great. So I just used that headline for this. It fits. It's the Avs 30th season. And I figured let's kind of go through 30 of their best players over those 30 years. And, you know, there were people who were big mad over certain guys that are on there, and that's completely fine. I'm not going to sit here and say like, I have the 30 guys, and you can't debate that. When you have that many guys, when you have this many years to go over, when you have this many guys to pick, nobody's going to have the same 30. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's guys like that I like more than others. And there's people who commented that like other people more. I don't have a problem with that. I do get a kick out of this list is irrelevant because you included player X. That's just kind of bananas to me. But I threw it up, and I'll put it up here on YouTube if you're watching. But of course, I'm not going to go over every single guy because we know who most of them are as far as, you know, the shoo-ins, and I put them up alphabetically. I'm not going to rank these guys. And I didn't have a specific criteria for this. It didn't have to be, has to play X amount of years. It didn't have to be needed this many points or this many goals, I didn't do that. It was just based off of gut feeling and guys that I thought deserved it. And again, it's fine if you don't agree with some of these guys. And I think, you know, the ones that got thrown out a lot of who I can't believe you didn't include player X. I think I heard most of Val Nichushkin, who I did not include in this. And like I said, I didn't have a specific criteria, but I did, as far as current players, guys that are playing right now for the Avalanche. I kind of did for that a little bit. And that criteria was, if they retired today, would they be on this list? And for Val, if he said, I'm done, I don't like, he's close. I'm not. And that's the other part of it. Like the guys that I was having discussions with people are the guys that are if you did rank them, like 28, 29, and 30. So like, if that's the conversation we're going to have, and that's where our debate is going to be, I think we're all pretty much in agreement for like 97% of this. Right. So I don't think, and that's the other part of it is I don't, if I leave someone off, if I left like Valentin off, I left Arturi Lehkonen off. That doesn't mean they're just at the bottom of this list. Like they're close. Of course they're close. And me leaving them off doesn't mean that I don't feel like they're deserving. I just feel like if going back to the criteria for current players, if they retired today, would they be known as an all-time Avs player? And, to make a list like this. And I don't know if Val would. He would be close, but could I put him on there? Right now, no. Like if he keeps doing what he's doing, I would like to see it. I'll say this. If he played for the years that he's played for the Avs, if he hasn't missed so many games due to injury, I think he'd have a much better chance of being on here. And while, like I said, for criteria, longevity was necessarily not one of them. Sometimes it did play a factor and sometimes it didn't. That's what I'm saying. It goes back and forth with this. And for Lehkonen, that's just where it is for me with him. I think when we do 40 years, these guys are, play another handful of seasons for the Avs. You have 10 more spots to fill. They would definitely be on here. So it's kind of why I left those guys. Sammy G, I got to say, people, I hear a lot from people who just obviously want Sam Girard off this team. You know where I stand with him. But I hear nonstop how people, the people who want Sam Girard gone, that crowd is loud. But I have to say the crowd who love Sam Girard, they got loud for this, for me not including him on here. And he could be another one that if they do a 35-year or a 40, if you're given a few extra slots for this, he could be another one that's on here. But again, he's one of those, like I say, if they retired today, would he be on there? He'd be fringe for me. So guys like, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Gabe Landeskog, Devon Taves, technically Eric Johnson, who's still playing, but who knows where he's going. Those guys, if they retired today, would be on there. I did put Logan O'Connor on here. Maybe that's the one guy that I have on here that maybe is a little bit self-serving. Maybe he's deserving of it. And again, like, because, this is not just based on, I didn't just go and search and organize by like points scored, just throw those guys up. No, like I said, some of it's based on feel, how I feel like the fan base likes guys. Sure. Obviously on the ice, what they do. And I feel like Logan O'Connor fits that. Maybe he is the fringe guy for me to be on here, but one that I kind of shoot in because I personally think he's deserving. Cody McLeod is another one that I think he got talked about the most in the comment section. I got to say, I'm a little bit surprised on that. Cody McLeod did something for the Avalanche that he played the position that is not in the league anymore. And I don't know if just enough time has passed where that position has just kind of gone away. Just that gritty enforcer type of player where we didn't really understand the value of a guy like Cody McLeod. But it wasn't a question of whether or not to put him on this list. And for a guy, again, for him, yes, the longevity thing played a role for him. Played 10 years for the team. You're trying to tell me a guy that played 10 years for this team and played his role very well isn't deserving to be on this list? I found it laughable. The amount of people who were saying like, oh, Cody McLeod should be off this list. But not giving a reason. Nobody gave a reason as to why. Just, I can't believe Cody McLeod is on there. And if you want to come up with a reason now, fine, please come up with that reason. Don't just say he's garbage. That's not a reason. That's just an opinion, which you're entitled to. But I would love to know why Cody McLeod is just not supposed to be on this list, because I felt he gave a decade to this team when they were a so-so team. You usually don't hang around on a team for that long when your team has a good season, then falls back. And he played during that time where they were some garbage teams, some good teams, some in-between teams. And usually there's a lot of turnover on those teams to try to find the right balance to hit that stride where you're a good team year after year after year. And he hung around for 10 years. And he's got all the penalty minutes to prove it. And it wasn't that long ago, but it seems like it was for the position that he played. So if you don't think he's on there, again, fine. I love having the conversation as to why, but just tell me why. And the funny thing was, nobody told me why. It was just like, he doesn't deserve to be on there. I got a couple for Marek Zvatos. He was close for me too, but he had like, what did he play? 5 seasons for them? I feel 6. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons for them. Really, 3 of them, 4 of them were so. I'm not trying to change my mind here. He was close. Again, he was another guy that was very close. And then a couple people throwing out Dan Heino. No, I liked Dan Heino, but just really didn't do it for me. And then I even had a couple people saying Yui Krupp. People, this isn't moments. If it's moments in the last 30 years, Yui Krupp and his goal to win them the Stanley Cup is probably a top 5 moment all time for Colorado Avalanche history. Other than that, Yui Krupp is not going to be anywhere near on a list for this. So I want to know. Take a look at that list. I'm trying to think of another one that people got a couple people about Varlamov, but Varlamov was great. I shouldn't say that. I think great is a strong word for him. He was good. Very good. Enough to be on here for me. Yes. Only 2 goalies on here. Obviously Patrick Waugh, and Varlamov is the other one. So, all right. That's going to wrap that up. Whoop, I took myself off of here. I lost myself. There we go. All right. So please comment. Feel free to comment away. I like this conversation. That's what it should be. When you have this many players that you're picking from over this many years, we are not going to agree on some of these guys. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just so funny how we have to go right to the this is a ridiculous addition. I can't believe you didn't include him. There's reasons. It's not just like I excluded them and didn't even give it a second thought. Of course I did. So let's have a fun conversation. Comment away in the comment section. I'm sure a lot of people will. All right. Let's get to this front office confidence poll that The Athletic does every year, and where the Avs were the last couple of years and where we think they're going to go this year. I'm really looking forward to seeing where the Avalanche are after this poll closes, which probably in a week or two. So we will do that next. All right, let's hear from FanDuel. And FanDuel is doing something pretty interesting here, people. August 26th, they have deemed an official brand new holiday. That's FanDuel Futures Day. Excuse me, FanDuel Futures Day. It's a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. So for just 24 hours, August 26th, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Take a flyer on MVP race. Of course, it's going to be Bo Nix. Crown your champion in August. Of course, it's going to be the Denver Broncos. Or parlay your division winner, Dark Horses. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only, August 26th. Put it in your calendars. That is FanDuel. Play your game. All right, over on The Athletic, they have their front office confidence poll. I always like this stuff because this is all coming from the fans and voting. And they've been doing this for a handful of seasons. I've only gone back 2 years but it is interesting. If you go back 3, that's in the one they did in 2022. They always do them now. So after in the off season, obviously in 2022, the Colorado Avalanche were number 1 on this list. Of course they were. When you win the Stanley Cup, you're going to be at the top of everybody's lists. For 2023, I'll bring that up briefly over here on YouTube. They moved down to 5th. Their overall rating was an A-. They break it up into 2 different sections here between the public perception. That's everybody, because you can vote on everybody's front office, obviously. So that's just the public and then the fan base. So you say what you're a fan of, and then they put those separately and mark that down for the fan base, obviously. The biggest ding for the Avalanche in 2023, drafting and developing, was a C-. Everything else, drafting and developing for the public point of view was a B, but for the fan base, it was a C-. Everything else, public and fan base, was either A or B, and A- and B+ and stuff like that. But it was in the A's and B's range. For 2024, they moved down to 9th. So you've gone from 1st to 5th to 9th. And drafting and developing, like I said, it was a C- from the fan base. It moved down to a D+ from the fan base. And everything else still in the A's and B's. So what could it be for this year? Your categories are roster building, cap management, drafting and developing, trading, free agency, and their overall vision. I was going to go through these, and I did throw this out to subtext. There are some people who commented on it. So for roster building last year, both the public and the fan base gave them an A-. It's basically like, well, I'll do it through like a 1 through 5, which could be A, B, C, D, F. So for roster building, it's going to be an interesting one for roster building this year, because I want to see how much the Mikko Rantanen trade impacts everything. So like your roster building, it's tough, because I'm in the camp of like, I understand the motive behind the Mikko Rantanen trade. There are people out there who just feel like it's clear as day for them. You traded a superstar. Don't want to hear about the cap. Don't want to hear about what he was asking for. Like, and I don't live in that world. I live in the world of, I completely understand why the Avalanche had to do it. And I cannot like it because you got rid of a superstar, but I also understand it because there's another superstar that you're going to have to pay. And it's very difficult to pay those 3 superstars superstar money. It's very difficult. So, and because I'm on that camp, to me, that's roster building. It's a different way of roster building, but it is roster building. Would I give it an A or a 5? No. I would probably give it a 4, because I can't say like, yeah, because I dislike just getting rid of a superstar. I can't just completely put that aside and say it's okay, even though I understand why. So I will give it a 4, because for a 5, it would have been figuring out a way to keep Mikko Rantanen at maybe a little bit lesser numbers so you can make all of this work. That would have been a 5. So because you couldn't figure out how to do that, it's not fully on them, because it takes 2 here to make a deal. And obviously it didn't happen to Mikko Rantanen. I'll give him a 4. Cap management. Again, why do I feel like all roads go back to Mikko Rantanen? You're managing the cap if you're getting rid of Mikko Rantanen. Is that not cap management? But it goes beyond that, right? It definitely goes beyond that, because the moves that they have made, and some people will say the signings that they have done, maybe extend themselves a little bit too much. You're hearing, a lot from the fan base about overpays, especially with Brock Nelson. Even with the Kiviranta one, even though he was 1.25, people are like, that's an overpay. So I'm for cap management, I think I would give the Avs like a 3.5, and I'd be okay with a 4. So that'd be like the C plus B minus range, I would say. Drafting and developing, that's gone from, like I said, C minus to D plus. I think that's going to an F this year. That's a 1 for me. And that's not to say like they don't have some good guys. They do. We know some of the guys that they have in their farm system, but it's very, very top heavy. Like compare the Avalanche to how, the best teams in the league are developing. They're nowhere near it. Yeah, I know you got to give up some guys to on trade on trade deals to put up the best team to make a run at the playoffs. When the Avalanche are in a position that they're in, you have to do that sometimes. So they get dinged for that, but it's like the guys that they gave up didn't really leave them with a lot left in the tank. And if they could draft and develop well, when you give up certain guys, you're like, okay, yeah, it stings to give up this guy, but we have another guy here who can kind of take that spot. You don't really get that with, the Avalanche, especially like someone like Callum Ritchie. Give up Callum Ritchie. Who's there to take his spot? Really nobody. Trading, for me, trading is an A. Now, the difference is like, have all those trades worked out? Of course not. Of course not. Where I go with trading is if there is a need, they address it. That's all I really ask for. And sure, of course, I want all the trades to work out, of course, but that's not the reality. But I very much appreciate the fact that this front office, when they see a need or they see something's not working or a player is not working, they make a move. So for me, trading it is an A. Free agency, at least for this offseason, is it's not much. I don't know what you give this. I don't know if you can give it an incomplete. I don't know. Because they haven't done much. I mean, I'd say they haven't done much, but they haven't done much in bringing in new guys, right? I mean, other than Brent Burns, it's pretty much you're staying the course. So I think this is just like a, I don't know, 2.5, 3. So that is what it is. Vision, and that is obviously what this front office, do they see, like, do they want this team? Every front office wants this team to succeed, but do they see a path for this team? And yes, I feel like they do. And again, you can disagree with the moves, but at least they're making them. And when you have Cale Makar on this team, you have Nathan McKinnon on this team, you better go for it. And you better make moves to try to improve this team as much as possible. So I don't think you can sit here and say like, oh, the front office doesn't have a vision for this team or doesn't really care if this team succeeds or is just going through the motions. No, I think this front office is doing the absolute best that they can to put the absolute best team out there. And then we can have the conversation of if it's working or not. Hasn't worked in the past few years. We'll see where it goes this year. That remains to be seen. But as far as the vision goes, yeah, I'm really curious. Like, if I'm going to predict something, like I said, they've gone from 1st to 5th to 9th. They're going to drop, no doubt about it. The fan base is angry. I'm curious. I think there's going to be a huge discrepancy between the public, so other fan bases, and the Avalanche fan base. So that drafting and developing one where it's, B minus and D plus, I think you're going to see a lot of that amongst how the public votes and how the fan base votes. And I think the Avalanche, they're 9th. They could be, they're going to be in the teens, no doubt about it. Are they going to be like above 15? I think they could be. I think my guess is they're going to be like 17th or 18th. That's just my guess because talking to a lot of people, I think fans are angry. I don't think they like how the front office has handled things. So I think they're going to just crucify them in this poll. But I think on outside of the Avalanche world, I think people are okay with how the Avalanche are doing things. But are they as tuned in to what the Avalanche are doing as others? Of course not. It's just like me. I'm like, I'm not as tuned in on the Montreal Canadiens as they are. So maybe there's things that they dislike that we don't really pay attention to. And that's where the difference is going to be. We'll definitely bring this up when the results are posted, which probably is going to be in about a week or two, I would say, because this is going to be one of the most interesting ones since they've been doing this. So let's get one more break in here. There are some subtext people that I want to get to that commented on this, and then we'll do some missed to make in terms of playoffs for the Eastern Conference. We'll do that next. All right, you just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday, and how can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. And when it comes to hiring, Indeed is all that you need. So stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs, puts your post at the top of the page, and helps you reach the right candidates faster. So now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support Locked On Avalanche by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Terms and conditions apply. And if you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. All right, quickly, we'll do over on subtext. I knew Vargar was going to pitch in here. Everyday listeners probably know he's not fond of how Chris McFarland is handling things. So for roster building, 2, cap management, 2, drafting and development, 1, trading, free agency, and vision, all 2. You, like I said, you can be upset on how the moves have worked out. Be upset about that. But I can't put trading and I can't put vision at a 2. I can't, because I feel like I said, that goes back to, I like that they make deals and they see a need and address it. And I can't say like they have no vision for this team. I think they absolutely do. Hoffacorn says roster building is a 4. Cap management is a 4. Drafting and developing is a 2. Trading is a 4. And free agency is a 3. So he says it's good they haven't done much in free agency, but there are a few guys they missed out on that I think they could have gotten cheap. I agree with you there. So that's why I said with free agency, I was a little bit lower on them because I thought they let some guys go that they could have got. But it's where they're at. So, and there's a difference right there, just between those 2 guys in our subtext. With Vargar, we know how he feels. And I think he's letting that seep into every aspect of the criteria, where Hoffacorn was more like up and down, but more towards the high side, more of like, I understand how they're doing things. But they're not hitting home runs every time, but they're active and they're doing things. So that's where we're at. All right. So kind of wrap things. There's 2 more things I want to do. One is talk about the Eastern Conference final, or Eastern Conference teams, not finals. And just kind of quickly take a look. Are there teams that missed out that could make it? So from the Atlantic, you had the Red Wings, the Sabres, and the Bruins. I guess is it more like, can any of those teams make it as opposed to any teams that made it last year miss out? So the Maple Leafs, they're in. The Lightning are definitely in. The Panthers are definitely in. So can the Senators make it again? Sure. Definitely. Can the Canadiens make it again? I don't know. They seem like they're improved as well. So that's where it might be tough. But for at least the Red Wings and the Sabres, it's like, is another year of going into a season where it's like, hey, maybe we can turn things around. But does it not feel that way for Buffalo? It was trending in that direction. And now does it feel like it's coming back down again for Buffalo? Definitely does. Boston's an interesting team. I can't make heads or tails out of Boston. I talked to a couple of friends of mine who are Sabres, Bruins fans. They're not confident. So I'll take their word for it. But should they be improved? I don't know. I just can't make heads or tails out of how Boston's going to be. I mean, they only had 76 points last year. That's a big, big turnaround. Not impossible, but I don't really see it. I don't know. And then in the Metropolitan, you had a bunch of teams miss the playoffs. Columbus, Rangers, Islanders, Penguins, and Flyers. I think the Penguins are out. The Flyers, I think the Flyers will be improved, especially with a new coach, new voice, new players. I think they'll be improved. Playoffs, no. Columbus is a team that's close. And the other thing I got to look at is points here. So the Devils and Montreal were the low teams with 91 points. Columbus had 89. So they were one win away from tying that. So if that's the barometer, could they get to 90? Yeah, you only need one more win. The Rangers, and you know me, they're my East Coast team. Some people feel like that was just like an anomaly last year. I don't. Call me crazy, but I don't. I think the Rangers are going to struggle again this year. They'll be. I don't see much of an improvement as far as points go. The Islanders, I've said before, I think the Islanders will be improved, but playoff team, probably not. So are we looking at running it back for all 8 teams in the East? No, I don't think so. I think Columbus is definitely in the mix. And God, I hate to say it, but yeah, I think the Red Wings are too. They weren't that far. They were 5 points out. They have a new goalie, and that's always a big deal. So yeah, I think if you're getting 2 different teams in there, I don't know what the going rate is year after year, of how many new teams make it per year. But I could see 2 teams switching with, could the Devils drop out? I don't know. You wouldn't think so, but it could be maybe, could it be Montreal? Could it be the Senators? Could the Senators take a step back? You wouldn't think so, but that's what makes the hockey season crazy. So wouldn't surprise me if it's all 8 again. Wouldn't surprise me if Columbus sneaks in there and Detroit finally does improve and they get in there as well. We'll see. What's your thoughts on that? Any teams that missed last year that you think can make it this year? And finally, the last thing we're going to do here quickly is, because we only do shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday right now. Thursday is Logan O'Connor's birthday. So a lot of people on subtext were throwing out birthday wishes to the one and only LOC, and I wanted to pass those along just in case he's listening. So Adam said, "Happy birthday, LOC," from the LOA subtext. Hope you're healing quickly and miss you already. I mean, sure miss him already, but we miss like everybody right now. We miss hockey. We miss playing. We miss the sport. So, but yes, we miss him and all the things that he can do on the ice, of course. Who else is here? We got Madam Battleaxe says, "LOC birthday wishes. We appreciate everything you do for us. Have a wonderful and amazing birthday. Can't wait for you to be back on the ice, whenever that may be." Not really sure. We heard. I don't think they're really going to update us because nothing has changed. But I mean, when the season gets started, we'll get some updates. But yeah, could be a little while. Craig says, "Happy birthday, Logan. I hope the surgery recovery is going well. Hope this is the best birthday yet." Mark says, "Happy birthday. Hope your birthday is awesome as all of your hope your birthday is as awesome as all of your shorthanded goals." That is a good one. And then you got Brandon saying happy birthday. Craig says happy birthday. Hope the surgery recovery is going well. Kay says this is the youngest she'll ever be. So happy birthday to that. And she also looked up, or is it? I looked up funny birthday wishes. So this one's for our generation. Happy birthday, old friend. Will you tell me the story again about what the 1900s were like? Oh, okay. Okay. I could go on about the 1900s. The 1990s was one of the best decades ever, especially for music and hockey, of course. All right. That is going to wrap it up, everybody. So we'll be back on Friday. Anything that's announced, we'll be talking about it then. So make sure you tune in to that. So thank you for tuning in to this one. Always appreciated. Thank you for making it your first listen of the day. And we'll see you guys on Friday. And you just made it through another 24 hours where Sidney Crosby is that much closer to being with the Colorado Avalanche.